Hey everybody, welcome back to Reviewing the Nerds. I'm Vincent.
And I am Mike. And today we are ranking the Doctor Who Christmas specials.
Geronimo!
On Z!
We touched
We crossed screwdrivers.
Yeah, we shouldn't touch emitters. That's weird. Alright guys, so me and Mike here are huge Doctor Who fans, and since Christmas time is just around the corner, we decided we'd talk about which of the Christmas specials that we like the most. We're going to start with the ones we like the least, and we're going to move on, of course, to the one that we like the most. But it's not going to be a unified list. Mike, explain to them.
Well, the way we're going to do it, because we are individuals, Vincent, I like to think, we're not going to agree on everything. So we're going to go to our least favorite. Vincent can start it off. And then if I agree with him, we'll have a joint session on it. And if I don't agree with him, then we'll move on to what my least favorite is, and we'll move that way up all the way to the first place. You were definitely the Doctor Who fan before myself.
That is true. I think we mentioned in an earlier video, but I've been a Doctor Who fan since probably season 2 of the current series. And a couple years ago, I got Mike into it, and man,
That's a couple years ago. That was only about a half a year ago, actually. It feels like a couple years ago, but yeah, it was only like around April.
We've had a load of conversations, so maybe it just feels like based on how much we've talked about it, because
Doctor Who, it's such a fun, entertaining world, and like I was kind of a low point. It was really just a great thing to escape into, and I found a love for it at the right moment. Chris Eccleston is not going to make it on our list because he had no Christmas specials. But he was my first Doctor that I saw. I thought that he was my favorite, and remember I was very resistant to David Tennant at first because of that, but David Tennant won me over pretty fast. And, you know, if you guys are going to, if anyone's going to bicker, ooh, they're trashing a David Tennant special or a Matt Smith special, I love both of those guys equally. They are both my favorite Doctors in all Doctor Who. Matt Smith and David Tennant, they are the best.
Yeah, that who's the better Doctor between these guys is always a hard thing to say, because both of them played the characters so differently but so well at the same time. I mean, I can honestly say out of the 4 Doctors, or we could say 5 now because of the 50th anniversary special, of the 5 Doctors of the new series, I really enjoy them all. I mean, even like John Hurt in the 50th, and he had such little time to show us what kind of guy he was, but I've liked all the casting for all the Doctors so far. Even I totally love Peter Capaldi, the newest Doctor. Peter, if you're having to watch this, which I don't know why you would be, but you're doing a fantastic job, and thank you so much.
We were debating on who's going to go first. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, there's, I got you. The Doctor would not approve of our violence, but that's how we roll.
All right.
Anyway.
What is your least favorite?
So, got my list. Least favorite, The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, I actually agree.
That's your least favorite? All right, great, yes. Cool. Yeah, I mean, my thing was, I don't feel like it was, I don't know, like, I remember it, but at the same time, I don't feel that memorable. Like, obviously, like some of the other Christmas specials that there have been with Doctor Who, they're doing an homage to some kind of, like, famous movie or book or something, you know, like that. With this, they're, like, playing on the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, you know, from the Narnia series.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like Narnia, all the credit to it, and they are trying to, like, play with that, because once again, the Lion, Witch, Wardrobe book happened during around Christmas time. Now Santa showed up in that book and gave them deadly weapons. But anyway, with the Doctor Who episode, like, I don't know, like, this is right after the Doctor, this is of course after the Matt Smith's second season, in which he, like, faked, the Doctor has faked his death, and he's staying away from Amy and Rory to try to protect them. So part of the episode is him, like, you know, like, finding a reason to go back, but I don't know, there were some things about that, I guess they were trying to be really whimsical, like they were in Narnia, but, like, the Tree King and his queen, and, like, I'm down with living plants and stuff like that, but they like the way like the Tree King. He really looks like he doesn't look like an alien. He looks like somebody carved a king out of wood. Which I mean, don't get me wrong, Doctor Who like takes real big leaps of stuff all the time, but then like how the trees like make like those ornaments that aren't ornaments, and I don't know, just the whole episode was just kind of
pretty much their sperm.
Ornament sperm. It's
tree sperm.
Yes, it's ornamental sperm. It's nice crazy.
Yeah, I mean, right from the get-go, in the beginning of the episode, you have Matt Smith falling through outer space with hardly any protective gears. Yeah. He falls like just. I mean, he may be a Time Lord, but he's not invincible. He can't survive in zero oxygen.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I mean, the vacuum of space is about as brutal as it gets. Same thing with the spacesuit. He crash lands to Earth in the spacesuit. Is it made of adamantium or something? What the fuck was that spacesuit made of?
That just sets things up for the rest of the episode is, even though Doctor Who is science fiction and it's fantastical at times, it still operates under its own set of logic. I mean, you have to stretch it pretty far to make it feel unbelievable for the universe of Doctor Who. And that's one of the complaints a lot of critics had, I heard, is that they said that some of the Christmas specials previous to this, they danced on a fine line of being for kids and adults, but they said this one is the one that tipped it all the way to being for kids. Yeah. I agree. The whole thing with the tree creatures that how the hell are they even moving, anyways? But then again, you could make the same argument for the Weeping Angels. But no, whenever you're not
Groot.
Well,
Groot's tree people done right.
These are my two favorite things about the episode. For one thing, Matt Smith, again, fantastic. He's a fantastic doctor. His zaniness in the beginning when he is serving, what's he pretending to be in the house? He's like the groundskeeper.
Oh, the caretaker.
The caretaker. Yeah, he's like...
those scenes in the beginning were great. Yeah.
He gave Mary Poppins a run for her money. I mean, he was just so lively, so energetic. He just immediately gives you a warming Christmas feel.
I wish I had a faucet that just poured lemonade. That'd be cool.
Yeah, he was awesome. And the other thing I loved the three mining or those construction worker guys that were trying to get them off the planet. They had that giant robot.
Oh, the robot were cool. I like giant robots, so I'll give points there.
Yeah, what were those three guys doing? Like they were like three astronauts or something like that.
Oh, they were just they were taking it. Remember, man, they were checking out the planet to make sure there's nobody left out there because they're going to scorch the whole thing or acid rain. I'm sorry.
Yeah, those three people were funny. I mean, they're kind of like the Three Stooges. You had like the extra stupid one, the kind of medium stupid one, and then you had one that was kind of the girl was the smartest one, right? Yeah. The two guys were the dumbest, as it should be, right? Feminists. Those three were really funny. Matt Smith was funny. So. Next on the list, and this is actually almost tied for me. The Christmas Invasion is my next.
Oh my God! Really? That's so low on your list.
That is. And I will explain why.
Hit me with it.
All right, now I want to get my first viewing of this. First viewing, I just came off Chris Eccleston, and I was actually very resistant to David Tennant initially, but of course, he ends up being like one of my favorite doctors. Love David Tennant. But, so my first viewing, I probably didn't view this, the best way. I was kind of like, who's this guy? In repeated viewings, my issues with it are that he's barely in the episode. I mean, he's in a coma through almost 3/4 of the episode, so you're not really getting a real Doctor episode. It's more focused on Rose Tyler and Jackie Tyler and Mickey. And, while those three are okay, I want to see the Doctor. That's pretty much primarily why it's down there. Also, it was still coming off the Chris Eccleston more cheesy Nickelodeon type feel with the tree that was spinning around, the attacking tree in the house and stuff like
Christmas, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to say about Russell T Davies, and, he did revive the whole franchise, but he did kind of have some growing pains in the beginning. Some of his episodes, I think, were kind of too childish, kind of Nickelodeon feel, and this was still kind of riding off that. The visual effects, they got a huge boost in their budget, obviously, from Chris Eccleston years, because the visual effects were definitely better. You had a good villain threat. I mean, you didn't really have any guest stars that were really notable besides Billy Piper, just a typical companion. It did have a threat, so that's good, but I think it's just because the Doctor wasn't really in it. That's why I put it, down there a bit. So that's pretty much my reasons.
All right. Well, my next one on the list for me was Voyage of the Damned. I don't know. There's something about that one that just didn't click with me. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, seriously, the Doctor, the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe was the only one that really just totally. The Voyage of the Damned. I don't know. It's okay. For me, I mean, it's obviously an homage to the Poseidon Adventure, a movie that was made decades ago and recently had a remake.
Which we won't talk about. Besides Richard Dreyfuss. Everyone loves Richard Dreyfuss.
Everyone loves Richard Dreyfuss. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was kind of good. It kind of follows it. I mean, Kylie Minogue is a guest star in this special, and you think, and they might be setting her up to be like a new.
Can't get you out of my mind. Oh boy, you're just about all I think about. That song was stuck in my head forever when it first came out. Ugh.
I want to see you do karaoke.
And
Anyway.
plus, she. By the way, that music video. She was hot.
Kylie Minogue's a good-looking woman.
Yes.
Very good. But yeah, so I mean, I liked it. It was kind of like Simon's Ocean. They're working their way through the bowels of the ship to try to get out of there, find out what's going on.
Yeah. What's his name?
I don't know.
Afakata.
You're saying too much fucked up.
It's the little guy.
Yeah.
Everyone I know he's.
I think it was Balavaca.
He was like a fan favorite after that, wasn't he? Like, didn't people really like him? Like, I felt like he kind of was. Even though he died in the episode, I felt like
he died heroic, man.
Yeah.
Gave his life for a woman who he knew he didn't love her, but he still loved her anyway. So it was like, oh. But anyway, so yeah, that I mean, the whole episode just didn't. I mean, it was like fun to see them go through the bowels of the ship, but then like those, I don't know, something about those robot angels just weren't scary to me, even with their like bladed halo discs. Like you guys try.
It was kind of like a weird Weeping Angels almost feel to them.
Weeping Angels, Weeping Angels, and you mix some Tron in there with the discs, but they're like really lackluster discs.
Yeah, I mean, plus the over-the-top villain. My name is Max. Ting on his teeth, like. Yeah, and
that's the thing that maybe it's not some villain trying to like conquer a world or destroy a world. He's just in it for money. So this guy's the Goldfinger of the Doctor Who universe,
which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's different.
I know, but at least Goldfinger tried to torture Bond with like a laser. I mean,
but the second that guy showed up on the screens with that message, I was like, oh, I wonder who the bad guy's going to be. He might as well have been wearing a hat that says,
like, it has something to do with that guy. He's not really dead.
He might as well be wearing villain across his chest. I guess I might as well segue into my number 7 because it's Voyage of the Damned. It definitely has a lot more Doctor in it. David Tennant's in the whole episode, which is why I will rank it above Christmas Invasion, because it is focused on him. And plus, I thought that Kylie Minogue was a good companion. I thought there were some good visual effects sequences. There was some sequences that were kind of exciting, and it was kind of an interesting idea in general, just like a recreation of Titanic in space. The aliens out there, that they would view that as like a piece of Earth history to make a cruise out of to come to
recreational history.
Yeah, so it was clever in that way, I thought, and there was some interesting things going on. I mean, there's of course complaints. I mean, we brought the Angels, we brought Max. Another thing is like how they kind of made you think that Kylie Minogue was going to survive at the end. I don't know what that was about. Like, he was like, oh, well, we can still save her, and then he rushes to those
on the teleporter.
Yeah. And they made you think he was going to save her, but then she still died anyways. Like, what was the point of making us think he was going to save her at all?
She got what she wanted, Michael. Now she's out in space, exploring.
I guess, but it was
dust, but still, that's her.
She's Stardust.
She's Stardust. Are you? I mean, I'm not Stardust. Sound cool?
Once again, David Tennant, he shines. He always shines. He does a great job in the episode. I thought that he was really lively, and he was kind of like a lonely juncture in the Doctor's journey, because he kept losing companions. Like, he kept switching from companion to companion. And he was so desperate to make her a companion, Kylie Minogue. It was really painful for him when she died. So you got a little drama there. None of the Christmas specials I hate. I don't even hate the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe spoof or whatever that is. Homage. I don't even hate that one. I like all of them. So I liked Voyage of the Damned. I will agree, though, it's maybe near the bottom. All right, so then I guess it bounces back to you.
Yeah. So what would be my spot would be the Snowmen. So this was the one right at. So this is the Christmas special that introduced didn't introduce Clara's character, but introduced her as the concept of her becoming a companion. My issue with this episode was, I guess it's a personal thing for me, but the Snowmen, I didn't find, once again, the creatures, I didn't find that scary, and that's mostly because I've seen that really crappy horror film. Jack Frost. There's a movie called Jack Frost, but it's basically child's play, but instead of getting put inside a doll, it gets put inside snow. So that really wasn't that scary to me. And like the main villain being snow inside a big glass sphere, once again, that threw me. I liked the introduction of Clara. I thought that she came off really cool as a cool character. I also like we got to see Lady Vashta and the gang. You always want to see those guys get together because they're a hoot. Matt Smith said one time he thinks they should get their own spin-off show, which I totally agree with. I think the characters are really cool and fun to watch.
There were, a couple cool guest spots in there. You had Sir Ian McKellen as the voice of the Great Intelligence.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge name. As a matter of fact, a lot of people think he was underutilized because you just use his voice. I mean, you have this fantastic actor involved. You should have given him a bigger part. But just having him involved at all is fucking awesome. And then there's also Richard E. Grant who plays Dr. Simeon. And I thought he did a pretty good job playing the villain role in this. And later on, he ends up playing the Great Intelligence, and he also does a good job in that capacity.
Yeah, because he finds him when he's a kid.
What's refreshing about him is that usually in Doctor Who you get really colorful villains, but he is so underplayed, and there's something kind of eerie and off-putting about that. And I think it makes him in some ways more creepy. Well, we don't unify on this one, so I'll get to some of my reasons for putting up later. And my number 6 is the next Doctor. I liked David Morrissey, who people might know from The Walking Dead as the Governor. I thought he was actually a really good Doctor. So he did a great job, and I liked the chemistry between him and David Tennant. It was fun seeing the Doctor interacting with someone who he believes is his future self. Once he begins to piece together his life, the Cybermen killing his wife, and eventually they took his son, it does offer some nice drama. My issues with the story are mostly in the end, with the whole Cyber King giant robot. First, I don't really understand how the Cybermen formed this relationship with this Miss Hardigan lady. The motivations are a little hard to understand, especially on her part. She hates men, so now she's cool with helping Cybermen enslave the whole human race. It seems a little extreme. I was cool with using kids as a workforce Temple of Doom style, but I don't really see how they could power this giant robot because it looks slapped together mostly by tools from the time period. I also thought it was a little too easy to defeat the Cyber King in the end. It seemed too convenient that the Doctor could use this info stamps to sever Hardigan's connection with the Cybermen.
Of course, I'm all for giant Cybermen. I hope we see more.
The info stamps became a little too plot devicey in that they had multiple functions in the narrative. It was a nice moment, though, at the end to see the whole city cheering on for the Doctor. I thought it was an enjoyable special. It offered a nice mystery with good humor, and it definitely has a Christmas feel to it. David Tennant was great, as usual, and carried the story with a fun energy. It's one of the last times that we get to see the 10th Doctor enjoy himself before his departure.
Well, my number 6 is the next Doctor. Reason being is because this is during the point where we know David Tennant is going to lead the show. This is one of his specials that they had instead of doing another season. I think this episode was really good for the fan base because, we know David Tennant's going to leave and they're going to introduce a new Doctor. So I think this episode was a nice way of helping people to adapt because David Tennant, the Doctor, he's traveling through time, ends up in, old England, and somebody starts screaming for the Doctor, and he runs up what can I, what's going on? And she's like, you're not the one I want, and this other guy who claims to be the Doctor shows up. And, I think it's a good way for the fan base to, help adjust for the eventual introduction of the next Doctor, which was Matt Smith. Also, once again, featuring the Cybermen. The Cybermen are my favorite Doctor Who villains. I love them. I think they're great. And then, of course, at the end, when we get a giant, it's 40-story high steampunk style.
See, I actually have an issue with that thing. My number 5 is The Runaway Bride. I really do like this episode. I do. I think that's a great introduction to Donna, who doesn't become his official companion until the season after this. Martha is his next one, then it's Donna. But they had such great chemistry together. It was such a different kind of feel to have someone so confrontational and is just constantly in conflict with the Doctor, and they're bickering and everything. It was so different than Rose, which was so refreshing. I mean, everyone loved Rose. Everyone loved the relationship the Doctor had with Rose, and a lot of fans, I think, had trouble letting go of that relationship. But Donna was just so different, and I felt like that was really needed at that point. So I was actually really disappointed when they jumped to Martha, because I was like, Martha's just another Rose. I really wanted Donna to be the companion at that point. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like Martha. She's a beautiful woman. And I did warm up to her, and she was a good companion in the end. Anyways, so that is the shining thing of that episode is the relationship between the Doctor and Donna. And how she kind of is, in a way, helping him kind of get over the loss of Rose, because he just recently lost Rose. It's this really horrible, sad episode where he lost her. And, so there's a little bit of a dramatic arc for the Doctor. I always like it when there's a nice little arc for the Doctor where he has to climb from point A to point B to point C to being his true self again. The Spider Queen, she was a little over the top, but you got to give them credit for the practical makeups they applied to her. I mean,
the makeup job looked great. I see a picture of what that woman really looks like, and holy crap, yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, now they'd probably do it with just CGI since their budget's gotten so high, but for practical effects, makeup effects, it looked really, really good. Yeah. It's funny how all the David Tennant Christmas specials, they're always about Earth getting attacked. Earth is in trouble. Present-day Earth is always...
that was the whole theme for the Doctor, the Christmas special for Tennant.
Except for the next Doctor. But usually it's present-day Earth completely in trouble. And, the people in London, they're always like, oh, not again, what's going to happen this? And even in the Voyage of the Damned episode, you had that one moment where they're down the London streets and everyone's hiding indoors because they're afraid to be out of whatever's going to happen this year, except for Donna's grandfather. He's the only one that's out at the...
on the street selling
vendor.
stuff. Yeah, vendor,
So I really thought it was a good episode overall. I mean, there's some things I don't like about it. I said some of the situations they were in, like with the robotic... I never really was a fan of those things. The robotic attacking Santa Claus men.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, what were they even doing there?
I'm guessing some intergalactic vendor that sells these things. I don't know.
Yeah, like they just appear sometimes. I wasn't even sure what they were doing in this episode.
I think they just used them to connect it back to the previous Christmas special,
Yeah. I mean, of course, the big highlight of the end of this episode is when the Doctor basically decides to kill all of her young, which is like, it's a mass massacre, which the Doctor... He very rarely kills, but when he does kill, he usually kills in big massacres. And, he murdered all of her young, and there was a moment where he kind of lost control of himself, and he was standing there just looking at it, and you saw in an alternate reality later on that if Donna wasn't there, he would have died along with the Spider Queen. But Donna's the one that brings him back, kind of, to his old self. And that was a great relationship, and I liked it. And it was good to see her return later on. Anyways, that's why it's there. So what's your next one?
My number 5 is The Time of the Doctor.
That's my number 4, but close enough for us to join forces.
Okay, we've backed up. So, here's the thing. This is our last time we're going to see Matt Smith. This was his, the special that he was going to leave on. And then I liked a lot of it. One thing that I really loved about this episode is the people of the town called Christmas. They represent symbolically the fan base. This is our last time to have an adventure with the Doctor. This is our last time to enjoy him, have fun. This is the last time to see him do like the drunken giraffe dance. It's what he calls it. That's a drunken giraffe.
The Jack Sparrow, kind of Jack Sparrow moving around.
Kind of like that. But yeah, so I think that was very touching because you see those moments where he's interacting with the town folk and how he's become this beloved member of their community, just like Matt Smith's Doctor has become a beloved member of our nerd community. And I just really thought that was really great and touching. And of course, that speech he gives at the end, that speech right before he regenerates, holy crap, it was great. And if you ever take a look at some of the behind the scenes footage of Matt Smith reading that off the script for the first time during the cast meeting, and he just starts weeping, man. He loses it and he's crying. Great episode. Really? He's crying. He's they're going to the cast meeting. He's reading it, and oh man, there's real great stuff. And then I did have a few problems with it, like that the Queen, like the leader of the church. Somehow she just, flying the TARDIS is easy. What? That is just there's a couple of Deus Ex Machinas in this one that hurts it. But because the leaving of Matt Smith and the way they handle those aspects of the special really get to you. I just loved it so much.
Flying the TARDIS is not supposed to be something you just pick up easily. I mean, River Song is the only other one that could really fly it like the Doctor, and that's because she has Time Lord in her. I like this one a lot. I do have some issues. I thought Matt Smith was fantastic, as always. He's always great. His zaniness and everything, it was so entertaining to watch. And as the Doctor gets older, just seeing that kind of evolve and mature, and you're following along with him, that's all really great stuff. This is a problem you run into with stories that jump through time a lot, is that it's hard to really get your footing narratively on the ground. Because you're jumping from one decade to the next, to the next, to the next, and then this takes place over a period of how many hundreds of years?
Well, let's see. He's 1200 when that special begins, and he's according to what Peter Capaldi says at the beginning of the next season, he's around 2000 by the end of it.
So it's 800 years of bouncing through time with the Doctor.
Yeah. I didn't even know the Doctor could live that long. I knew Time Lords didn't age like humans, but holy hell!
Yeah, I mean he's also we should mention he and the first Doctor are the two longest living Doctors in the whole series.
According to what we've discovered from research,
yeah. They both live to a ripe old age, and they go naturally. Actually, John Hurt, I guess, also. Yeah, the three of them, because John Hurt dies of old age too. So all three of them die of old age. So they are the three oldest Doctors.
There's a little bit of time discrepancies going on based on the Doctor's 900 at the beginning of the show, and then now I don't know. But anyway,
yeah.
Old show, new show. There's gonna be some mess ups.
But anyways, with this episode though, you are leaping through time a lot, and it is kind of hard for me with these type of stories to really get into the story. Clara's kind of your way in because she's kind of periodically coming into the Doctor's life at different moments through these hundreds of years. There's some great stuff in there, and of course, I mean the part of this episode that shines, and you mentioned it, is the ending. That's the thing that stands out. That's the thing that makes the journey of the whole episode worth it. When you get to that ending and you see the half-eaten fish custard and everything sitting on, his panel, his console.
Taking off the bow tie?
Yeah, like he drops it, and it's like a 10-pound weight. I was never satisfied with how they got rid of Amy and Rory. I don't think anybody was. It was really just a cheap, quick, fast, get rid of them, they're done way to do it in that Angels in Manhattan episode. And it was good to see Amy return. I would have liked to have seen her get a better send-off than she did, but this makes up for it a little bit. And it's good to see her come in at the end, because she really was, the love of this Doctor's life in a lot of ways. She was the first person he saw. Even though it wasn't romantic, it was very, very soul connection. They had this deep soul connection between each other. And even though he loved River and he loved Clara, I don't know if it was ever as, tight as that was. And it was good to see her return, and his speech was great, everything was great. Also, we should mention that it was very, very different than the way David Tennant left, which we're going to get to. But Matt Smith, he lived to a ripe old age, so he was, in some ways, he was ready to let go. I mean, he was ready to let go. He had lived, and he even got to be young again one last time at the very end there, because this regeneration has magical... Sometimes it magically lets things happen.
It's a reset.
Yeah, sometimes magically it lets his limbs grow back, and sometimes it lets him get young again, so we can see him in his natural form one last time.
Well, that's the good thing about the new series. They can add a few particulars to how regeneration works, because they never really, in the old series, they never really explained it. They just yeah.
And then Pierre Capaldi comes in, and I have to admit, I was very put off by Pierre Capaldi initially. He's still not, I still don't like him anywhere near as much as Matt Smith. I liked Pierre Capaldi's first episode, but as the series went on, I don't blame him as much as I blame the writing for his season, though. He's growing on me. I do think he'll be a good Doctor in the end.
The Runaway Bride. Basically, same reasons that Mike was talking about earlier. Just David Tennant and Catherine Tate just made a great comedic duo in that, and that showed even more when she came back as Donna again for a later season to be a full-time companion. Just a real great, funny episode. It's nice to have a companion where there's no romantic tension. We're having a lot with David Tennant. What's your number 3?
Mine is The End of Time. Of course, you had Timothy Dalton narrating it, and Timothy Dalton brings a gravitas to it. Timothy Dalton's always great. He could read the alphabet and probably be amazing. I always had mixed feelings about John Sim as the Master. Sure, he could be funny and entertaining, but I like a little more menace to my villains, especially ones that are so connected to the hero. He's the yang to the Doctor's yin. I actually preferred the small appearance that Sir Derek Jacobi had playing the Master in the Utopia episode. He was really intimidating and scary. I was disappointed that he didn't appear longer as the Master, to be honest. Sims was just very goofy and over the top, to the point of being more comedic than villainous. Now, Sims has grown on me over time, the more I got used to him. And in general, despite my complaints, I do think back on John Sim as the Master fondly. But in the first parter where he has that, where he twists that machine around and duplicates himself over every person in the human race, it was just so goofy. I mean, it was really goofy.
And yet you've ranked this very highly.
I said it would have ranked higher if it wasn't for the first part. The second part is where all comes home. But but the first part does have things going for it. I really like, the ticking clock sensation. You know that David Tennant's time is coming to an end. David Tennant's Doctor knows it too. He has a moment in the restaurant with Wilfred where he's talking about the end of his life, and it's this really dark, depressing speech where he's talking about how even if he does regenerate, it feels like dying anyways. And this really solidified the Doctor's regeneration process, which is that basically it works the same way that the Dax creature works in Deep Space Nine Star Trek, is that the Doctor's memories are carried from one incarnation to the next, but each incarnation is its own person, and they bring their own personality into it. But whenever that person dies, they do die. It's just that the memory lives on to the next Doctor. So there's this looming kind of depressing feel over the whole two-parter where you know that he's going to die. This beloved Doctor is about to pass, and he's scared. He's scared, man. It's very different than Matt Smith's ending to his character in that David Tennant hasn't gotten to live a full life as a Doctor. He's only been the Doctor for a very brief time. He's barely aged, so it's much more sad because it's a life stopped way too early. And that makes the first episode, that's what saves the first episode. And actually the Master, I will say this, he gets better in this two-parter. As the two-parter goes along into the second part, he gets increasingly more interesting. The tap, 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 the reveal of that he was made to be this way. The Time Lords, in a way, they ruined him. They destroyed him. They tortured him into this villain, and that makes him more compelling. And as we move along, it gets increasingly more interesting. They have a really cool dogfight with the spaceship, that Dave Tennant sent with Wilfred. It's like a Star Wars thing where Wilfred's on one end, one gunner, and an alien is on another.
Don't get cocky, old man.
Yeah, it's a lot like Star Wars. And, David Tennant jumping from the spaceship and smash. I don't know how he survived.
Like a boss.
Yeah, like Captain America style in Captain America 2 where he jumps out of the elevator and smashes through the glass. I don't know how he survives it, but it looks freaking awesome.
He's flexible. That's why.
Him facing off with the Master and Timothy Dalton, I mean, wow, you got two big villains on either side of you. Hopefully Timothy Dalton returns because he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then at the end there, man, you're just waiting. You're like, oh God, he's going to make it. It's going to be okay. And then Wilfred taps on that glass, and you're like, oh God. And even David Tennant's like, of course. It just had to be you, Wilfred. Then they have this beautiful ending where, he gets to say goodbye to all of his companions and all the people that meant something to him in this life. And, God, that part where he says goodbye, to Rose in the snow. And you see him kind of limping back to the TARDIS, and the Ood are singing to him. I honestly was getting emotional. I never get emotional watching stuff. I was getting teary. He comes into the TARDIS, he hangs up his coat one last time where he usually hangs it. And then he says, I don't want to go. Boom! Oh, it was horrible. It was so sad. And then Matt Smith appears, and at first I had issues with Matt Smith because I was like, you're dancing on the corpse of David Tennant. Get off his corpse, Matt Smith! Now, of course, Matt Smith in his first episode...
He's just making sure he's got two legs.
Yeah. But, of course, Matt Smith won me over his first episode right away, but we're getting off.
That first episode was great.
Yeah, he ended up winning me over. I love Matt Smith. But anyways, that was the farewell to David Tennant. It was really heartbreaking, but it was a really good episode in a lot of places. The only reason why it doesn't rank higher is because that first part has some cheesy stuff.
Right. And now would be my number 3, I guess, would be The End of Time. I would have to put that on my number 3 slot. David Tennant. They pulled out all the stuff in that one for the 10th Doctor. They bring back the Time Lords, and that whole planet Gallifrey gets brought back. The old woman that keeps mysteriously appearing and reappearing in front of Wilfred. Turns out that was the Doctor's mother looking out for him, they don't explain how she keeps popping out of the Time Wars. Is that supposed to be time locked? But she does it because I guess, what a mom wouldn't do for her son, especially when her son's apparently one of the most important people in the universe. So, number 2. My number 2 is A Christmas Carol episode. I could be a little biased against one. I mean, I love the story, the original story of A Christmas Carol. I've seen it, cartoon versions, I've seen play versions, I've seen TV movie versions, feature film versions. I've even seen a Muppets Christmas Carol. So right off the bat, this film, this special has got me. I mean, it's really cool to see the Doctor fill the spot of the Ghost and Amy and Rory kind of helping out, using time travel to not show a man his past, but alter it and show what it could have been and remake it. And just to have Michael Gambon on there, who was still coming off of the Last Great Apartment we just recently filmed. He was really great playing this old Scrooge character. He's really mean and even vicious at times. I'm very super Scrooge almost at times. And instead of jumping the shark, they rode a shark, which was, I mean, that's the only part that episode I find weird, but at the same time, it's Doctor Who. I mean, we've had killer mannequins, so, just really cool episode, and, I just thought it was great. What's yours?
All right, number two for me is one that you mentioned a while ago, the snowmen. Now, I want to mention why this ranks higher for me. Okay, I agree that the snowmen are not particularly threatening. But I think that the great intelligence in Dr. Simeon make up for it. There's a detachment from humanity and empathy that makes them feel more threatening. As I said before, Ian McKellen definitely should have been used more and had more to do, but I think that Richard E. Grant is able to carry most of the weight himself. The darker, more serious tone in those characters balances out the more over-the-top snowmen. I think that where this episode really shines is in its relationship between the Doctor and Clara. Matt Smith and Jenna Coleman had such a great chemistry together, that alone makes this a great special. Seeing them together painted a bright future for Clara as a companion. Unfortunately, I don't feel like this chemistry carried over into Peter Capaldi's Doctor as well. They don't complement and balance each other's personalities, in my opinion. But with Matt Smith, I think that she did a great job filling in some big shoes left by Amy and Rory. Another big reason for ranking this episode so high in the list, it provides a very good character arc for the Doctor. He starts out at one of his lower points, having lost Amy and Rory. He doesn't want to do this anymore. He's tired of being the Doctor. He pretty much has isolated himself and the TARDIS up in a cloud overlooking humanity, but never really involving himself with anything anymore. It's really fun and entertaining to watch Clara slowly reach that Doctor that we all know and pull him back. Much like how Donna helped David Tennant's Doctor get over Rose, Clara helps this Doctor get over Amy and Rory. It's just funny because he's almost the Scrooge in this episode. He's the one that's like, bah, humbug, I don't care about anything. And then at the end of the episode, he gets his groove back. He cares again. He's reignited by this mystery with Clara, and it's also really sad when she dies again. And also, one of the most important reasons for any Christmas special to be higher up on the list, it very much so feels like a Christmas special. It very much so is a Christmassy episode. It gives you that kind of warm feeling, and well, minus the fact that people are dying, and of course, you got those three lovely characters with, Strax and Vastra and Jenny.
Jenny.
Those three characters, they are awesome together.
They're such a hoot. Why haven't they got their own spin-off series?
Yeah, I don't know how the hell Sarah Jane Chronicles got, that spin-off and how these people
All due respect to Sarah Jane.
Oh, all due respect to her. I'm not trashing her. I'm only saying that these three are just as worthy of their own spin-off. Strax is my favorite. Strax is amazing. He's so funny. Like, when he throws a newspaper, he hits Clara right in the face.
Oh my god, I remember that from... Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, was that this episode?
No, that was Capaldi's first episode.
Oh. Well, alright, then in this episode...
Spoiler!
Well, then in this episode, I like how he keeps touching the worm that makes you forget everything. And he keeps forgetting he touched it. Strax is great. And he's like a Klingon, man. He's always ready to go in for an honor death, to die honorably. I love him. Anyways, so yeah, that's why Snowman marks number 2 for me. Yes, I agree the Snowmen are cheesy, but there's so many other things that this episode has going for it. Oh, also, one of my favorite moments with Matt Smith in this episode is with the first time he kind of takes on the persona of being the Doctor again. He bursts into the lair of the bad guys, where the great intelligence is, and he just is back, man. He's back. He's his old self. It's great to see. Anyways, all right, what is your number 1?
All right, you want me to go first?
Sure.
All right, well, here we go. So, see, my number 1 is surprising because my number 1 was way low on your list. Or should I say way high? I don't know. But my number 1 was the first one, the Christmas Invasion. And
really?
Now here's why. Go with me on this. I know your reason is that David Tennant isn't in it a lot. But that is a good thing. And here's why. Once again, they're just bringing in David Tennant. People like Eccleston. Now we're bringing in a new guy. We don't know anything about him except for like a little conversation he has with Rose in the TARDIS where, he convinces her, like, it's still me. But that's it. Rose is still unsure. She doesn't know how she feels about this guy, just like the fan base. Once again, as good companion characters do, she's taken the journey with us. Just like the fan base, we don't know how we feel about this guy. Is he still the Doctor? We don't know. So a lot of that is us taking the journey with her. And then, of course, at the end, boom, David Tennant finally wakes up out of his, regeneration coma, comes out, and he just owns the bad guys. Catches an energy whip with a bare hand, knocks it
in the last 5 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, gets all goofy and kind of he's goofy and charming at the same time. He licks some blood, but we still like him. It's weird, but it's he's so confident and in the face, and then boom, sword fight with the leader of these aliens, and it's just
the sword fight was cool. Yeah, that action scene was cool at the end.
Yeah, it was so cool. And then at the end, we've him and having spending Christmas with Rose and her family, just having a great time. Seriously, that's what I liked about that episode. They take a lot of the episode to address how the fans are feeling through Rose, and that's what I think made so great. And just once again, David Tennant. As soon as I saw him go head to head at the end with the king, I was like, dude, he's the Doctor. I'm accepting this dude.
See, my issue was that because he was in it so little, I was not sold on him initially. Matt Smith, it took me about 3/4 of the episode before I went, okay, you're the Doctor. It was like when he put on his bow tie, he's like, I'm the Doctor. I'm like, okay, you are the Doctor. But with this episode, we didn't get that same build-up, so I actually took longer for
me, that whole ending is what I needed.
The ending's cool, but yeah.
There's so much right in there. Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't think that Rose and Jackie and, what's his name? Mickey, I didn't think that they were enough to sustain the episode.
Well, whatever. But what's your favorite?
That's my opinion.
What's your favorite?
My favorite is A Christmas Carol. Okay, I that is my favorite, and the reasons for that is, and actually I just realized this last night that it's my favorite, is that last night my family wanted to watch a Doctor Who Christmas special, and we were looking through all of them, we were like, okay, which one are we going to watch? And it was just like, okay, it's the most Christmassy episode, I think, from Doctor Who ever. It has everything going for it. It has the Christmas theme, but it has a lot of science fiction. It has Scrooge. What I like about it is that they put a twist on the Christmas Carol story. It's a really science fiction twist on it, and it's not just ripping off the story. It is its own thing in the end. When Matt Smith explodes through the fireplace, he's just off. He's bouncing over the room. Yeah, he's like, oh, what's this? Why is this not working? Why is this not? He's just all over the place. He's awesome in that opening. Yeah. But when he appears,
sorry.
When he appears, he's awesome. Michael Gambon really carried that episode too. His acting. Well, he's a Shakespearean trained actor. Of course, he's going to carry that show. I like the setting. I kind of thought it was cool how you had this kind of 1800s looking world, but it had had futuristic technology in it. The fish thing is a little weird. The fish thing, I admit, is a little.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who disagrees that the fish thing was like, okay, we're already accepting that there's like an old Victorian, not Victorian though, era, but old style English, like late 1800s style English community, but it's in the future, and it's just kind of like, because they're like most of the community is poor, so like that's the way the place looks.
Yeah.
But come on, flying.
In the end, though,
killer mannequins. I don't know.
Yeah, in the end, though, I did think it did present something visually really exciting in the episode, even though if it was kind of childish. But that's probably the lowest point of the episode, and maybe you could make a few other complaints that there are some areas where they maybe are too much Christmas Carol-like. But the arc of the Scrooge character, I love, all the time travel back and replacing negative memories with positive memories at Christmas. Again, really Christmas feel this episode, and I thought that the girl had a beautiful voice. She's actually a professional opera singer in real life.
She had a beautiful everything.
Yeah, she had a beautiful everything.
Face alone.
It really just felt like an awesome, warm episode. And I also, at the end, I was asking myself, I was like, okay, this version of Scrooge, this guy is pretty much a sociopath. He pretty much is. He does not care, he has zero empathy for other things. And at the end of the episode, regardless of them replacing all these negative memories with happy ones, he's still kind of a sociopath. And I was thinking, and I was even thinking, if they show him dying alone in the cold at the end, that's not going to make him change. And he even says that. He's like, oh, what are you going to show me? You're going to show me dying alone in the cold? I already know I'm going to die alone in the cold. That's not going to do anything. And I was thinking that too. I was like, what are they going to do? Perfect solution. Absolutely perfect. When the doctor brings his child self to see what he becomes. Because that just interconnects then. He then remembers as a child seeing himself be like his father, and you honestly believe this is the moment where positive change is going to happen. It was a really powerful moment, and I also liked the whole romantic thing and how he couldn't let the girl out of her cryogenic tube. She only could live for one more day. It was this nice, sad, romantic thing going on, and I don't know. It just made me feel good. The episode has a really good feel to it. It's a really fun episode. It doesn't really play with the Doctor mythology that much, but it's fun. It's a fun, good time. If you're looking for one episode to watch on Christmas, I would say that is my #1 recommendation for a Christmas special.
All right, everybody. I think we just went down the whole list. So,
unless you count all the classic Doctors, in that case, we'll be here for about 3 more hours.
Yeah, no, we're not going over that. So, but anyway, yeah. So that's our list. Once again, we hope you guys liked it. If you did, click like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and if you really liked it, share the video. Let others, spread the word of us nerds here at Reviewing the Nerds.
I already know one comment we're gonna get. Your videos are too long. We know. We talk too much. We're nerds, and we're having trouble controlling our excitement.
Yeah.
So we'll try to get better at it as time goes on.
All right. Well, guys, once again, hope you enjoyed everything. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike.
And this was Reviewing the Nerds.
I'm on Z! Why is this working?
Fish finger thing.
It's upside down! I'm on Z!
Fish finger thing.